Today we're going to make the Manhattan. We're going to deconstruct it. 6 different whiskeys, 6 different ways. Sorry, 6 different whiskeys, 1 way.
I like a 6-way. Welcome to Common Cocktails. I'm your host, Derek Scholler. I had to stop the fruit action. Food fight. Oh, Jesus. From happening. That was just habitual. We're going to make a show for you today.
Today's show is produced by Kyle Wood.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle.
Good old Kyle. Makes good drinks.
Kyle not only is now one of our higher donators per month, Kyle has created some cocktails on the show in the past many years now. Many years.
And they've been consistently good.
Yep. I'm so far out of all Kyle's drinks, the one I like the most is probably the golf cocktail we did with Rob, the one that had the grass.
The Odka grass vodka?
Yeah, Odka grass vodka in it. So today we're going to make the Manhattan
6 ways.
6-way.
So the recipe we used is a dash of Angostura, 3/4 of an ounce of sweet vermouth. We use Vya because we love Vya. And then 1 3/4 ounce of different bourbon, rye spirits. We have a Jim Beam. We have a Wigle Rye. Is that Wigle Rye? Yeah. We have, what is this?
That's clear. That's classic.
Canadian.
I want to say clearly Canadian. It's not clearly Canadian. It's Canadian Club.
Canadian Club. Yes.
12.
So we got that. We got Jameson. We got Old Smoky, which is a white whiskey, and we have Alberta Dark. So these represent 6 different styles.
There is some historic relevance to this. During Prohibition, there was a shutdown of all the American brands. Mm-hmm. Canadian whiskeys were utilized to make Manhattans during Prohibition because they were easily accessible for the U.S. market. Easily accessible meaning, probably people died to get them in, but they got here.
But they were available.
Right. So, is that what they were smuggling in? That might have been what they were smuggling in when during the Empire, that show that was on TV.
Oh,
was it Empire?
Boardwalk
Empire.
Boardwalk
Empire. I think it was I don't know if it was Canadian Club or it was one of. So I was looking at Crown Royal and some of the other Canadian whiskeys we have. We do have a representation of Alberta Rye. But that's kind of like the rye Canadian twist. This would probably be more of what you probably would have seen back in the day. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't do all the history deep into it, but I know that's an older brand.
We do know the classic Manhattan uses a rye. So rye, either be it the Alberta Dark Rye or the Wigle Rye, would be your more classic definition of the Manhattan.
And then we also played in the bourbon. I went bourbon, I don't want to say low end, not bottom shelf, middle shelf. Yeah. Well whiskeys. If you order Manhattan at a typical bar that doesn't really, a sports bar maybe, some place where they're not in tune to what they should be serving you, they might, I'm not a bartender, but I think a good bartender from my own experience, when you ask for a Manhattan, they're going to ask what type of whiskey you want.
And I tend to default to makers myself. When I go somewhere and they ask me, I'm like, just make it with makers. Because most places have makers and I like it. So.
Right. And I failed to put makers in here just because we had a wide array to begin with. I also wanted to put in
we can make this with 50 different ones here.
Right. And that's, last deconstruction, like, why didn't you use this? How come you didn't do this? You should do it with this. I'm like, dude, it would take hours.
We want to cover the big major categories.
Right. And we also threw in an Irish. We also threw in a white whiskey because I thought it would be neat. At the last minute, I'm like, you know what? That would make sense. A white whiskey, a white dog, have something in there that's, the Moonshine category and see how it plays. And it also has the right colors because of Angostura.
Yes.
Added it.
It's a little bit lighter than the other ones, but the Angostura definitely gives it the bulk of the color.
Yeah, the vermouth.
So let's start with the vermouth. Let's start with the Jim Beam.
Do it. That would probably be what I think you'd get if you just ordered Manhattan. If you weren't picky about your product, they're going to give you the because they'll probably get a better deal on it.
And that tastes like what I've had if they don't ask me what I want. If I go to a restaurant or something, and I'm not sitting at the bar and I get a Manhattan, that tastes about what I'd expect.
That's appropriate. That tastes like a Manhattan to me.
It does, but it doesn't have the rye mustiness that I like in Manhattan.
It has the bourbon, oaky. I like that. I like that flavor, and I'm big. I guess I am, but I wasn't at the last time I did in Manhattan. Wasn't a big fan.
That's a Manhattan with the Wigle Rye. The rye makes the difference. It makes a big difference because you got the mustiness of the. It tastes more like the oak barrel, like the musty oak barrel.
No, seriously, that tastes like a hollowed out oak barrel. Like if you just put your nose in a little bung.
Totally.
Put your nose in the bung. Tastes like that.
Bung?
Bung.
Bung.
Bunghole.
Bung. which is the hole on the side of a keg that they put the cork in.
Oh, I thought you said put your nose in a bung.
A bung, B-U-N-G.
You could do that. Not gonna be the same flavor as this.
So when people talk about bung holes,
Right. That's actually what they mean.
what they really are is the hole in the keg that they cork and they use for sampling and whatnot.
Right. We're not sampling. We are actually drinking. But it has that white, fresh oak, musty, been around for a while.
Yep.
Sitting in the in the dark.
Which I really like. I mean, I don't mind any version of the Manhattan. I'm probably going to be happy with.
But these are completely different.
But they're very different drinks.
And that one has a long finish.
Unlike vodka
Sour.
drinks, you get differentiation in whiskey drinks.
Exactly. If we did these blind, I still couldn't probably call out what they maybe I could.
If we did those two,
no, if we did blind, we
know
would
rye.
those two we would be able to key off of. I don't know
So
how
Canadian and Irish, I'm guessing we should also be able to tell a difference.
You're probably
because
better
they're
at
very
the
different.
Irish because you're big on the Jameson. So that's why I picked Jameson over 40 Creek, which I would like better.
Canadian Club.
40 Creek is actually Canadian. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the two gingers.
Oh yeah. So that's also a very different drink. The sweet vermouth really comes out with the Canadian whiskey because it doesn't have that heavy oaky flavor that your American whiskeys are going to have.
Almost has, compared to those two at least, a little watered down nature to it.
It does. Well, Canadian whiskey tends to be
blended.
smoother and have a more watered down flavor.
Yeah, it's so well balanced, I think, that it is not shining.
Compared to the Canadian Club variant, the Jim Beam tastes musky. Taste the Jim Beam now, and it's going to taste really musky to you.
That has a sweet. I could see if you added some, instead of Angostura, you put some cherry bark vanilla bitters in there. Woo! Woo! That'd be awesome.
The vermouth really comes out of the Canadian version.
And no, I don't know why I decided to line this up later in the week.
That's fine.
Let's just get destroyed right now.
So this is the Jameson.
No, you were right. That has that does. It's
Yeah,
more of the musky, like
compared to the
earthy.
Canadian Club, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't expect normally to get the muskiness out of the Jim Beam, but having compared it to something
Right.
that's not musky at all, like the Canadian.
Which I thought would be a rye anyway, but it's still a blend. I don't know what they're. I bet you some portion of this is rye, but I don't know the vanilla and spice and. It's 12 years. They have difference. They have a 10 as well. I chose the 12 because I found it. There's a 10 in my cabinet, but I have a lot of alcohol.
That's the Jameson.
So this should be your favorite. But I can tell it's not because the first thing you're doing is comparing it to the Canadian Club.
And I think it compares closer to the Canadian Club than it does with the rye or the bourbon, just because Irish whiskey tends to be a smoother whiskey. Not as smooth as Canadian, but smoother than the other ones.
No, but I get a little floral or something.
It's a good flavor. But it's not the watered down flavor that the Canadian Club is.
No. But I could, if you told me you added 2 dashes of rose water or orange flower water, I would buy it. I would think, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It has like I don't know, not like a lavenders and bouquets of flowers, but it has like a little bit more of a floral note to it.
That's got to be the bitters coming out.
Oh, that's true.
I'm guessing that's the bitters.
It could be, yeah.
So
I totally forgot those are in there.
So with the
can't tell with these.
Canadian Club, the vermouth really plays. The sweet vermouth, you really taste that. But with the Irish whiskey, the Jameson, you get the bitters come out a little bit more, which is interesting.
This one brings out the rye. That one brings out the oak. That one brings out the musky inside of the barrel flavor. That brings out the bright oak flavor, like you had oak chips resting in your drink.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to do, but it should be fantastic.
White whiskey.
Ah, yes. Not a fan? Or you don't really know what to think? I've never had a white whiskey cocktail. Oh no, this is not true. I've had a whiskey sour with white whiskey, and it tasted awful.
That tastes like it would go down easy and be very dangerous. But you don't get any of the oakiness. You don't get any of the muskiness.
You don't get any burn. It's subtle.
Yeah.
That's like an introduction to Manhattan. It
almost
tempers it all down to like a. You get flavor.
It almost
you
has
sweet vermouth,
different citrusiness, to, like a sweetness to it, and also almost like a
dry,
cinnamon barkiness to it.
Yep.
Are you getting that too, or is it just me? The sweetness isn't the vermouth sweetness coming out in the white whiskey. It's more of the whiskey sweetness that's coming out.
Cinnamon is from your Angostura, so it's bringing out some of the Angostura trade spice flavor,
but in a different way than the Jameson does. So
yeah, that wasn't like that. That was a little more fruity flavor. This one and florally. This definitely has more of the cinnamon, very muted, but it's like at the back end and dry.
Yeah,
it's a sweet vermouth that's dry.
Right.
Now that
because of that white whiskey.
Yeah, but this is still pretty good. Like
I'm surprised that it's not terrible.
No, I know, and that because I've had a whiskey sour, it was just terrible. Of course, I guess it could have been the whiskey I was using. It was whatever they had. if you go to, I mean, this is something cool to try. If you go to a good bar and you order, I want a Manhattan with a white dog or white whiskey, a lot of bartenders are gonna just stop and go, I gotta respect that. Like that's different. Because a lot of places they have like one bottle and no one uses it because they don't know what to do with it. Most classic recipes don't always call for it, so it just sits there. If you can utilize it and they're like, I didn't even know I had that, or the only one who drinks that is me. Like I've had that come up before. Like
I was like, when I go to a bar and I haven't been there, I like to scan the bottles and just see if there's anything that maybe is a little bit different and I want to try something with. That comes out like the rye, like the Wigle Rye, only sweeter, and it's got the,
it's very sweet.
The caramelly darkness to it. Darkness, get over it.
That's hold on a minute. That is sweet and lots of flavor forward effects on my tongue. That's just ginger ale.
I mean,
it's a lot of very flavorful.
That would be good. You gotta put the cherry in that one.
Yeah, it's not already in here.
I would almost suggest using the Woodford Reserve cherry bitters in that instead of the
Maraschino.
And a Luxardo Maraschino.
I mean, you could if you order this at a good restaurant, all these should have Luxardo Maraschinos.
Yes.
I think for this, I would use the Jack Rudy Bourbon Cherry, like a bourbon.
If you go to a bar and you ask for a Manhattan and it comes out with one of those bright red maraschino cherries,
you're at the wrong bar.
Yeah, stick to beer. Stick to something that's like not overly cocktaily crafty.
Come on, those are the best.
Hurricanes.
They were the best when I was 12, and I went to my aunt's bar and she'd give me a whole bowl of them. I'm looking for a craft cocktail.
Dude, you will get a sugar high eating a whole bowl of those things. And I'm sorry, but it's tasty. But you know what? Not all things that taste good are good for you, and those are definitely not on the list of good for you products.
Right.
But they are definitely tasty. Nothing like killing off a cherry, destroying its soul, and infusing it with fake of
bleaching cherries,
pretend soul. Yeah.
So bleach is a bad thing to do to your food or your body. I mean,
right.
Don't bleach your cherries. Don't bleach your asshole.
Right. There's a lot of things you should not lay bleach on because it burns.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cherries don't burn because they have sugar in them.
So what this has done for me is reinforce the fact that I like a Manhattan in a lot of ways. But Manhattan's like one of my go-to drinks when I go to a bar.
Really?
And I like the fact that we broke this down and we got to taste the different styles of bourbon and whiskey.
They're all different.
And they're all different. They're all differentiable.
And none of it, like, there's no. I mean, I think these two guys probably epitomize what a Manhattan is kind of like. What it goes for, when you go to a bar, the two kind of flavor profiles you get. What these do is tell you that that's not the only way you necessarily have to go.
Yes.
And if you are a type of person who orders Manhattans everywhere you go, it might be time to look at a different product and say, I want a Manhattan with random product, freaking whatever you call it.
Most bars you go to.
What's the show with the dial that they spin? Wheel of Fortune. You just Wheel of Fortune that and just go. I'll take that one.
Or look at the bar. Look at what's there and say, hey, what do you have that's a different bourbon or a different rye? Make a Manhattan for me with that and try that out.
Yeah, if they go, sir, that's peach schnapps, so you can start over. But yeah,
all right, fuzzy navel it is.
Well, let's make ourselves a fuzzy navel. I gotta try this one again because I'm still a little bit
My navel's not too fuzzy right now.
Pitch at it.
So which one do you like the best?
That's what I'm trying to
I like them all. I mean, they're all different in good ways, right?
This is
I mean,
pretty strong.
The class.
This is down to make it with your favorite.
I think so. I think they all give you something a little bit different.
There's a few things to also consider. This is 100 proof.
Okay.
That drink does not taste
like
100 proof. If you order this, you are going to have a rough night.
Well, you don't. Something I learned in New York. You don't pound martini-style drinks.
No, and when you see people do it, it's funny. And then you know what this is what they do. They cut 3 days later, like, you wouldn't believe I had such a hangover. What'd you have? I just had a couple drinks. What were they? Oh, like martinis.
Oh, you mean straight alcohol?
Yeah. Oh, so you just had how many? I don't know, 4 or 5 straight alcohol drinks. But had you had like 4 or 5 Cape Codders, you probably would have been fine.
You could do the same thing by just having 10 shots and call it a night.
Right. Just 10 shots, 10 minutes apart from each other.
Yeah.
Because I was only drinking for a short period of time.
What'd you do? I had 5 Manhattans.
Right.
Oh, you mean 10 shots?
Right. It's going to be hurting. This is stronger than everything else here. This is close. This has the flavor of strength. Like, this has a little bit more burn factor. It's 45%. These guys aren't. They're all in the 40s, I believe. This is probably a 40.
Yeah, I think so.
Nope, 42 is a little
42,
bit.
yeah.
And that's the other thing is whiskeys. They're not all just 40 like most gins.
Yeah, there's 40, there's 42, there's 50, there's 48 and a half.
Then you got
75.
barrel strength. What the fuck's barrel strength? It's whatever they pour out of the barrel.
Yeah.
To 124. I don't care.
It's undiluted.
Barrel strength. That just means be careful. It's undiluted. So this one is out of all these, this is the one that I find the most fascinating because for that amount of strength and potency to not throw that cocktail off in a weird direction is pretty fantastic. Overall, I personally, my own opinion on a Manhattan and what I envision as a Manhattan out of these that I think tastes the best is actually just the Jim Beam Manhattan.
Really? Yeah. I go with either the Alberta Dark or the Wigle Rye because Manhattan's a rye drink.
Yeah,
So
I
I
just like,
I expect that mustiness.
and I like rye, but I like rye in some of the other rye drinks we've done in the past. I can't think of anything.
Sazerac of rye?
It's good a rye. I could like a Sazerac and a rye. Like a little bit of orange and
We
stuff
can
like
do a
that.
Sazerac deconstruction sometime.
We could do that too. It's probably going to be just like this one.
Well, we can mix up the
Bitters?
Peychaud's and
Yeah.
the absinthe.
Yeah, we could do that too. So I would say this is good, and this is also right up there. I want to go in this direction, but I feel like I should branch out.
The ones I like the least are the Canadian Club and the white whiskey, probably.
Yeah.
The rest of
Because
them
this one
I
doesn't have
kinda
as much flavor to it.
Right.
This one is like a watered down.
It is.
Good introduction for whiskey, and
Sure.
and I really threw this in here only because I feel like that would be, and unfortunately is, the type of thing that they might have had to deal with in Prohibition. If you're in a dry county, state, federal, the whole U.S., that is going to be pretty damn good.
True.
Because it's all you get.
Quality is all about availability.
Right. So if that is your product, and this is, they would be like gold for people who were against the system.
The woods of northern Maine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, question of the day. And I've never asked this before, so I'm pretty proud of this.
Oh, wow.
If you...
2,000 videos.
Yeah.
All right.
If you had
Let's hear
to
it.
live through...
What are you going to ask?
If you had to... You sound like me now. Well, no, seriously, what is...
Yeah.
No. If you had to live
No,
through...
I'm really curious. I want to know. This is going to be good.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm building suspense in my own head.
If you had to live
And
through...
in everybody else's head. I'm just like prolonging the...
I know what you're doing.
Okay.
I'm going to forget the question. If you had to live through Prohibition, would you stay dry, or would you be one of the people that finds the speakeasy, sneaks in? Knowing you're of age, you were able to drink, everything was legit before.
Would you be a Henry Ramos or a John Dillinger?
Yeah, would you be like, no, we're shutting everything down, we're done, I'll see you later? Or are you going in and you're like, no,
There's a
I'm
way
gonna
around
buck
this.
the system, I'm gonna drink because I believe it's my right.
I'm going into Nucky's bar.
I feel like
I'm going to go into a soapbox and drink at the soapbox.
Yeah, I would totally. I personally, I think I would. Now, especially now, since I've had this experience, if it was like before when I didn't have a lot of cocktails. I'm like, I don't know, what are the cocktails? Oh, I can't have beer anymore. Or whatever. I guess I'll just go dry.
Yeah.
I feel like I would
You'd
go
find
in
a
there.
way.
Yeah.
Because you know how to drink responsibly and not get drunk and not make an ass of
Plus,
yourself.
we've done cannabis stuff on the show.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen everywhere. I mean, no. Granted, I wasn't Sky John. I didn't pee into my drink.
Right.
But I did go in a different direction.
Yes.
Without ammonia and went the cannabis route.
The less legal direction.
In a long,
Depends who you are.
Good
long
thing we're in a bunker
recovery.
40 feet below the
Yeah.
That's right. So
the
it's
surface.
legal for us.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, I kind of feel like I'm already a badass. I did something bad, and it was publicly available.
And it's fine.
I maybe until I get arrested, that's all good.
We'll see.
I just think I would be that guy that would do the Prohibition. I would go drinking during times when you can't.
Yeah, I probably would actually. I tend to be law-abiding, but I think that's just silly.
Yeah, but if you could already do it and they took it away, that's
Yeah, that's
the thing
different.
that would
He would go into he would go into the speakeasy.
I'd go make
he'd
my own.
grab a couple of drinks, and he'd go
That's
office
okay.
pop.
I do an office pop.
Yeah.
You never done an office pop? When was your last office pop? September 02. Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
So that's your question. It's Thursday. So you're going to go to facebook.com/cocktailtv.
Yes, that's where you're going to get all the notifications of when we're going live. You're going to get notifications of contests.
Yep.
Any other stuff that Derek wants to put out. He puts
Short
out little
form
videos.
stuff.
Yeah.
There'll be more of that coming now that my work is winding down.
That's where you go to solicit input from people. Like if you
do.
want to get opinions or something, that's
Yeah.
where you go.
If you like to give input directly and change some course of direction of the show, sometimes I'm like, I can't come up with what whiskeys I should use. Hey guys,
What do you think?
And then you guys can answer. So that's
Or
just
the
something to keep in
chat
mind.
room tends to do that too.
Live stream is always good. Live stream is CMC Live.
Yep.
CMC live stream.
Again, you'll get notified on Facebook when we go live.
That's right. And
Good stuff.
Twitter and Instagram when I remember.
Yep.
So you can do that.
All good things.
Lastly, click on your subscribe button. You should be able to click on it maybe a right click to get a little flyout, and you can actually get notified via email. I do that for some of the shows I like, so that I get it in my inbox when the show comes in, and that way I don't have to go hunting for it.
Subscribe to the new gaming podcast also.
Yep, RetroQuest. That's the one that has me and Liam playing video games. I'm going to see if I can get Jennifer in there. I know I could get Ian. That's going to be easy. Maybe we can get Brianna in there a couple times.
What?
Yeah, why not?
It's a family affair.
That's what we do here. We're done. I'm teaching you how to drink. That is not refreshing. Stir it a lot more. The other thing I want to do is I want to do a little tutorial on tempering.
Use the
That lemon did not want to be in this drink.
It's like the second